Hello. This is a new and improved video about indirect object pronouns. This is one of those videos where you're going to need to push pause and take notes. I'm not giving you time to write, so you're going to have to pause in the interest of making this a short video that uploads quickly. So what the heck is an indirect object? An indirect object expresses to whom or for whom an action is done. It is always a person or an animal, and it is always preceded by a. Sometimes in English we have for, but in French it's always a, which is to. So it's the same thing in English. Indirect objects follow the prepositions to and for, like I buy a gift for my mom. All right, so let's look at these two examples. Gigi parle à sa mère. Olivier donne un cadeau à ses sœurs. Sa mère is the indirect object in this sentence, and ses sœurs is the indirect object in the next sentence. So, say you got sick of me talking about la mère, sa mère, sa mère, sa mère. You just wanted to hear her for once. You would need to use an indirect object pronoun. Same with Olivier's sisters. Maybe you get sick of hearing me say ses sœurs, ses sœurs. You just want me to say them. That is what an indirect object pronoun does. It keeps you from having to hear the same word over and over and over again. So we could replace à sa mère with lui. And notice that we're not just replacing sa mère, but we're also replacing the preposition. So Gigi lui parle. Olivier leur donne un cadeau. So let's look at these indirect object pronouns. We have me, te, lui, nous, vous, leur. And this is what they mean. Me is to me or for me. So if I say something like elle me parle, that means she talks to me. And me and te become me and te before a vowel. And notice that when we have an M apostrophe, it just joins right up with the verb after it. It all becomes one word and it's pronounced as part of the same word. So let's talk about where the indirect object pronouns go. So what did you see? What did you observe here? That indirect object pronoun goes before the verb in French. It's not like that in English. And it's not always like that in Spanish. But in French, the indirect object pronoun always goes before the verb. So, quick backtrack. When do we use indirect object pronouns? Well, we use them with verbs that take a. So let's have a peek at some of those verbs. We have parler à, dire à, donner à, prêter à, montrer à, acheter à, envoyer à, demander à, poser une question à. By the way, if you didn't push pause and write those down, you need to push pause and write those down. In the present tense, the object pronoun goes right before the verb. So the verb here is parle, je lui parle. And that's not the way it works in English. Elle te parle. Elle te parle? Oui, elle me parle. Elle t'envoie un cadeau? Oui, elle m'envoie un cadeau. Nous leur offrons des cadeaux. Mes parents m'envoient de l'argent. In the passé composé, so you should have written down in the present tense, the object pronoun goes right before the verb, or present tense, pronoun before verb. You got to write something about that and write two examples. And then another heading, passé composé, pronoun goes right before the auxiliary verb. So remember, the passé composé is made up of two parts. You have an auxiliary verb and a past participle. The pronoun goes before the auxiliary verb. Je lui ai parlé. Elle t'a parlé. Oui, elle m'a parlé. Elle t'a envoyé un cadeau? Oui, elle m'a envoyé un cadeau. Nous leur avons offert des cadeaux. Mes parents m'ont envoyé de l'argent. In the two-verb construction, what's the two-verb construction? Remember that? You have a conjugated verb followed by an infinitive. In the two-verb construction, the pronoun goes right before the infinitive. Je vais lui parler. So the infinitive is the unconjugated verb, right? So you see je vais, that's a conjugated verb, and then lui, and then parler. Je vais lui parler. Elle va te parler? Oui, elle va me parler. Elle va t'envoyer un cadeau? Oui, elle va m'envoyer un cadeau. Nous allons leur offrir des cadeaux. Mes parents vont m'envoyer de l'argent. Okay, so where do we put the pronouns when it's negative? So here's my question for you. What do you notice? I don't know if you notice, but there is super glue gluing the object pronoun to the verb. Nothing can get in between the object pronoun and the verb. So whenever you're putting a ne pas in there, it goes where it normally goes, but there's no way it can go between the pronoun and the verb. Je lui parle. Je ne lui parle pas. Elle t'a parlé? Oui, elle m'a parlé. Elle ne t'a pas parlé? Non, elle ne m'a pas parlé. So let's look at some more. Elle t'envoie un cadeau? Elle ne t'envoie pas de cadeau? So notice we have that little cluster. We have the pronoun verb cluster, and then the ne pas goes around it. Now, let's just see if you guys remember. How do you make something negative in the two verb construction? That's the conjugated verb. The ne pas goes around the conjugated verb. Je ne vais pas partir. Okay, now what did we learn about where the object pronoun goes in the two verb construction? Nothing changes. The object pronoun still goes before the infinitive. So, je ne vais pas lui parler. Elle ne va pas te parler. Non, elle ne va pas me parler. That's the end. Thanks for watching.